The information shared on Light Body Radio is for educational and informational purposes only. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed healthcare provider, or qualified wellness practitioner with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or health goal. Dr. Lara May, her guests, and affiliates do not claim to cure, prevent, or treat any condition and are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information shared in this podcast. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and that any actions you take based on the content are at your own discretion and risk. Thank you for tuning in to Light Body Radio.
Welcome to Light Body Radio, where science meets soul and healing gets multidimensional. I am your host, Dr. Lara May, functional medicine pharmacist, master intuitive Reiki channel, and certified life and health coach. Here we decode root causes, transmute stuck energy, and empower your full spectrum healing journey, body, mind, and light body. This isn't just wellness, it's awakening, grounded in science, guided by spirit, and designed for your evolution. Let's rise and radiate. Welcome to the next level of you. Hello and welcome to Light Body Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Lara May, and today we are continuing our informational peptide series. This is actually episode 7 of the series, and we're going to be talking about mitochondrial peptides, cellular energy, aging, and the intelligent use of these energy signals. So we're going to talk about NAD+, methylene blue, lots of things. And I'm going to try to take us far enough into the physiology and the bio and the chemistry so that we have a deeper understanding, but not too much in the weeds so that you don't check out and start having PTSD reactions to high school chemistry, or bio or whatever. So anyway, welcome back. Hello. Good to see you. Good to be with you again. So let's jump right in. If you've been following this series, you've probably started feeling this progression that we're moving through. And so we began with what are peptides, how the signaling works, why the body sometimes doesn't respond. And then we moved into metabolism, healing and repair, nervous system regulation. And so now we are moving into a deeper question. Does your body actually have the energy to do what you're asking it to do? Because healing and returning to homeostasis requires energy. Adaptation requires energy. Resilience requires energy. Cellular energy here. This is what we're talking about, cellular energy. And today we're going to talk about how that energy is actually created at the cellular level and which tools can help and how to also avoid overdoing it. So NAD+, MOTC, methylene blue, how they all work together, how you might definitely not want to do them all together, or try them all together, or start them all together, and how to decide which one and when, and all these things. So stay with me here. Today's going to be a big, good episode. All right. So when we talk about energy in the body, we're not talking about motivation. We're actually talking about ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the molecules all of our cells use for the energy, to drive chemical reactions, power muscle contraction, support brain signaling, fuel that detoxification that we're always talking about, and carry out repair processes. So every time your body does anything, it's spending ATP. So oftentimes we will think about ATP as currency for the body. And so when someone feels fatigued, foggy, the brain fog, inflamed in whatever way that shows up for you, or slow to recover from an injury or an illness, what we're often experiencing at the cellular level is inefficient ATP production. Sounds so simple, right? Should be just so simple to fix. Let's fix it. Okay. So, how does the ATP actually get produced? So, inside your mitochondria, there is a system called the electron transport chain. So, you've probably heard the mitochondria are like the powerhouses of the cell. And that is because they have this electron transport chain that will ultimately produce ATP at the end of it. So the final step of this cellular energy production, that's the ATP. And so here's what's really happening. You eat food, whether it's a carb, a fat, or a protein. One of those three macros is broken down into smaller molecules. The molecules then move through different pathways like glycolysis and the Krebs cycle, which actually generate electrons. And those electrons are carried by molecules like NADH, which will then be reduced down to NAD+. And these electrons are then delivered into the electron transport chain, and a series of protein complexes that are embedded in the mitochondrial membrane will move them. The electrons are moved down the chain or through the chain, and energy is released. And that energy pumps protons back and forth across the membrane. And this creates what we call a proton gradient. This gradient stores potential energy. And then that energy drives an enzyme called ATP synthase, which ultimately produces the ATP. Now, see, that wasn't so bad, was it? It was, I think I carried us through the process. I didn't get us in the weeds. I think we're good. All right. So, okay. So ATP production is an electrochemical process that happens in our body. It's totally natural, normal. We need it to survive. It is dependent upon electron flow. So, and if you remember, electrons carry a charge, and this electron train is highly sensitive to disruption. So that's important to keep in mind too. Because when the system breaks down, the electron flow is disrupted. And what does that look like? That looks like electrons leaking, so not going to where they're supposed to go. Oxidative stress. So again, when we have free radicals in there, they can be grabbing up the electrons that we need for the ETC. And then ultimately the ATP production drops. And that's when we start to feel the actual physical symptoms of being tired and not being able to keep up and all these things. So that is actually the definition of the mitochondrial dysfunction, is when ultimately our electron flow is disrupted and our ATP is not getting produced like it should be. So again, this shows up as fatigue, inflammation, poor recovery, reduced resilience, all the things that we talk about. You know, these are the things that you actually feel. And so when you show up to your practitioner, you're like, I feel like crap, or I want to sleep through the whole day, or I can't get myself out of bed, or all these things. That is a reflection of this mitochondrial dysfunction, which is really an electron transport issue. Okay. So let's talk about NAD+, the electron carrier. So NAD+ is one of the most critical molecules in the entire process. So this is why you've heard it talked about by biohackers for decades now, like Dave Asprey and those types of things, or those types of people, I mean, because it is so critical to the whole process. It's very important. If you've ever been to one of those IV therapy places where you get the IV bags full of a bunch of good, fun stuff, a lot of times NAD+ is in there. There's a good reason for it. The job of NAD+ is to accept and carry electrons. Remember, we have to have this electron transport chain in order to get the ATP at the end. Kind of like, I'm sure I'm going to make someone cringe if I say that, but remember Plinko from The Price is Right? And you'd start with the little disky thing at the top, and it would like plink, 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 plink all the way down to the bottom. And then ideally at the bottom, it would like go into one of the slots that had a lot of money or something. Kind of like that. So at the end, we want the ATP slot. And so the NADH I want to start over. So NAD plus accepts the electrons that are brought into and across the membrane, and it becomes NADH when NAD plus accepts the electrons. All right. So that's why it's a plus, because it has accepted. So then the NADH delivers these electrons into the ETC, the electron transport chain. So without NAD plus, electrons don't move. ATP production slows. Cellular energy drops. NAD plus is not energy itself. So I feel like I need to go over that again because I might have muddied the waters with my little metaphor. So again, the job is to accept and carry electrons. When NAD plus accepts the electron, says, yes, thank you, I will carry this electron football, then it becomes NADH. NADH then carries that electron into the ETC. And so without the plus, we don't have the movement of the electrons. We don't have the final product of the ATP. Our cellular energy drops. Okay. And we are confirming that NAD plus is not energy itself. It's just a carrier. So it's the carrier that makes the energy production possible. All right, cool. We got that squared away. All right. So what else does NAD plus do? It also can activate a specific type of protein that is part of the repair and longevity pathways of our body. It supports DNA repair. It also regulates cellular stress response. So if you're low on NAD plus, then that's affecting not only your energy, but your repair mechanisms and your aging. So it can, like, if we, see some people that look old, like older than their actual biological age, most likely they have some sort of dysfunction in this cellular area of their body and their bodily functions. So now that we understand that, that's like the foundation of all of this, we can now move into more of the different tools. So NAD plus increases electron availability. And so that supports the ATP production, the mitochondrial output, essentially, and cellular repair. So this is best for low energy states. So fatigue, tiredness, brain fog. I would say brain fog too. Yeah. All right. But then we have something called MOTC. MOTC stands for mitochondria-derived peptide. And so this one actually improves the energy utilization. So the NAD plus increases the energy production. MOTC, which is a peptide, improves the energy utilization. Mitochondria-derived peptide. It activates AMPK, which is the body's energy sensor, so to speak. And this tells the body to use glucose more efficiently, burn fat more effectively, improve metabolic flexibility. So instead of increasing energy, it actually improves how the energy is used. So this one is a really good metabolic support mechanism. And then we have something that we've already talked about on the show, but I wanted to bring it back in today because how intricately linked it is to our mitochondrial function is methylene blue. And methylene blue actually improves the electron flow. Methylene blue works directly on the electron transport chain. It acts as an alternative electron carrier. So if you have an issue with your NAD plus, remember we talked about that electron leak at the beginning? It can actually help streamline that and improve that and divert those leaking processes and actually like bring things back into that smooth transport and transition. So it can help shuttle electrons through the system better. It reduces the electron leakage and it decreases oxidative stress. Super, super important. So that actually improves the efficiency of the ATP production. So let's sum up the three pieces and parts that we're really focusing on here. NAD plus, it helps generate the electrons. MOTC helps use energy efficiently. And the methylene blue helps keep those electrons moving smoothly through the electron transport chain, which again is going to give us a more predictable output of the ATP. So all of these things sound great, right? They all three do something differently. Why wouldn't you want to just put all three together and be on your way and be, like high energy functioning machine? Well, this is where we need to get clear, because it is one of the biggest mistakes that I hear about and I see, especially my high overachieving clients want to lean into and tend to, is like, oh, all those things sound great. Let's do it all. Let's do everything right now. No. Wait, pause, take a breath, dial it back. These all support energy, but physiologically that can actually create overload. And so we're trying to repair the system, right? We're not trying to further break it into a tiny million different little pieces. So we want to use finesse here, not hit it with a sledgehammer, so that we know that the NAD plus increases energy production, but it also increases that demand. And MOTC increases the metabolic activity, and the methylene blue increases the electron transport efficiency. So when you combine them all immediately, you can be pushing multiple layers of the same system all at once. And this can lead to overstimulation, anxiety, further fatigue, or complete instability. And especially for someone who's already burnt out, inflamed, and dysregulated, this is a recipe for disaster, really. Because you start to lose signal clarity. If you're doing everything together, also, you don't know what's working. And so and remember, all of these things are just meant to be temporary pieces to your journey of healing. None of them are necessarily meant to be long-term things that you have to continually take for the rest of your life. But if you don't know which one is working and which one's the most effective for you, then you don't know which ones you can eliminate and save yourself some time and money and resources too. So if you start taking them all together, everything together all at once, you don't know what's working, you don't know what your body actually needs, and you can't adjust it intelligently and with that finesse that I spoke about. And so from a clinical standpoint, we don't do that. We don't start a bunch of different things that all work on the same system all at once, because we want to be able to discern where you are and what your body responds to, because that also helps us pinpoint exactly which piece of the mechanism was not working optimally. We don't want to just assume that all three of those aspects of your mechanism were screwed up. That's a bad assumption, and that's just not good practice in general. So we want to know, where is the breakdown and where can we pinpoint? This is precision medicine, you guys. Functional medicine should be precision medicine. It is not meant to be throw a bunch of these things at the wall and see what sticks. That's honestly more like allopathic approach. Oh, you have these symptoms? Well, we'll throw this at it, see if it sticks. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, then we're going to try this over here. No, functional medicine is precision medicine. And so we go about it at a precise and educated way. That's why we test, we don't guess. All right. So how do we know where to start? How do we choose where to start? This is where our discernment comes in. This is where your practitioner should be very discerning and picky and listening to you, but also thinking about all the different, physiological and metabolic pieces as you're describing your symptoms and what you've been going through. So if you are feeling depleted, exhausted, cognitively slow, unable to recover, this usually equates to low energy production. So NAD might be a short-term help for you to start feeling better faster. If you are feeling metabolically stuck, insulin resistant, unable to adapt to stress or exercise, a lot of perimenopausal women start to feel this way. Like, oh, I'm eating right and I'm exercising, but this, what they call the inner tube around my middle will just not move. Or you are showing, signs and symptoms of insulin resistant, then that is a reflection of inefficient energy use. And MOTS could be a good puzzle piece for you, a good solution for that. And then if you're working through high oxidative stress and I don't know, methylene blue is super helpful for the mitochondrial inefficiency and correcting that high oxidative stress and correcting the poor electron transport. But again, like used with proper oversight and proper supervision with your practitioner. So stacking is not wrong, but the timing itself definitely matters. So first of all, we want to establish what is your primary issue, and we want to support that pathway first. And then we want to give time for that system to adapt to whatever choice that we made, whatever we decided to implement. We want to give your body time to adapt to it. So we want to watch for improved energy, stable responses, better tolerance, feeling better, better sleep. If your electron transport chain and your ATP production becomes into balance, then usually you'll be sleeping better too. So you want to watch for those things. And this is also why we track symptoms, so that we can see even just small improvements are important. So if let's say we've implemented NAD plus and we've seen some positive response, but maybe we're still struggling with the inner tube, then maybe it's time to layer in the MOTS, because again, they work separately, but they can complement each other well too. I typically do not use methylene blue and NAD plus together. And I personally, in my practice, have found that the methylene blue oftentimes is enough to streamline that electron transport chain, and so that you don't need the NAD plus. But each practitioner is different. Each patient and client is different. And so each person needs to be addressed on that personalized level. But mitochondrial support is not all about chasing energy. It really, in some ways, is about restoring capacity and restoring this resilience, because remember, resilience takes energy too. So when the body has a stable energy production, efficient energy use, and properly regulated signaling, then again, all the dominoes fall into place. Your healing improves, your metabolism improves, your hormones actually come into balance, and you feel more resilient. And so we want to approach this with intelligence and discernment, because even though this little mechanism is tiny, it is so powerful. Energy is powerful. Energy is currency, really. So, but again, more is not always better. And especially if you're already coming to the picture with fatigue, adrenal fatigue, HPA axis dysregulation, cortisol dysregulation, exhaustion, then a lot of times you don't want to keep pressing on the gas. Pressing on the gas from a picture like that is just leading to more burnout. And that's honestly why I like, probably because of the type of people that come and find me personally as a practitioner, these are the type of people that I find are the burnt out high overachievers. So we don't need more gas. We already have plenty of gas innately and by nature with these types of people. I'm one of these people myself. And so what we need to do is support the system, support the electron transport chain. And that's why methylene blue is so beautiful and so simple and so easy, because it can come in and streamline and clean things up without us having to add in this other thing. So that's something to keep in mind too. So better regulated energy is what creates good outcomes, healing, feeling better. The goal is not pushing harder. It is support the system intelligently. Because when our body has capacity, when it has regulation and it has resources, everything works. Our body knows what to do. It is highly intelligent. Think about all the things that it does all day long without us having to tell it to do it. They just happen in there while we're moving about our day and actually like usually causing more damage. Our body's in there like working its ass off trying to correct all the damage that we're doing. So let's try to support it as best we can with the tools. And so that's my goal with all of these episodes, is to bring you the information, to bring you the nuance, to bring you the sort of the mystery behind the how it works, so that if you're faced with a challenge and you feel like you might need this extra layer of support, not only can your practitioner obviously guide you and help you and tell you, but you'll have some background knowledge to sort of say, yeah, that makes sense. Or, yeah, that sounds a little bit familiar. I've heard that before. Or maybe like, oh, you know what, that's not for me. Thank you, but no. And any practitioner should be okay with that too. So I hope this episode has filled in some more information for you. Again, energy is currency. It's sort of like what we start and end all of our day with, right? Is energy, or the lack thereof. And so we want to make sure that our bodies are supported. So in the next episode, we are going to dive into some more hormone support and maybe some more longevity aspects of this subject. So I hope today's been helpful. I appreciate you joining me. As always, if you have questions or comments, please leave them in all the places and we will address them. And if you are looking for show notes for any reason, those live at drlaramay.com/podcasts, and we will catch you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me on Light Body Radio, where functional medicine meets intuitive healing and transformation happens on every level. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and if you're ready to go deeper, visit drlaramay.com to book a functional medicine consultation or an intuitive healing session. Whether you need to rebalance your body, clear your energetic blocks, or reconnect with your soul's purpose, I've got you. You can also follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Dr. Lara May for daily inspiration, energy updates, and healing tools. Remember, your healing is multidimensional, and so are you. Until next time, honor your body, trust your intuition, and activate your light.